Corzetti Labs, and these are our findings in regards to learning and onboarding in AutoDesk BIM software, Revit LT. Our client's project, Revit LT, is a BIM software. At the beginning of our semester, we spoke with Autodesk to scope out some of the usability needs in regards to Revit's help documentation. We paid particular attention to Revit's video and tutorial-based help. We determined that the main user group to focus on included both professional and student architects at the beginning and intermediate levels. From our initial research and interviews, which will be addressed later on, we created 3 personas to represent our target user base.
The findings and recommendations provided in this video are the result of several different investigative methods. We first began with a high-level overview of Revit LT software and its related documentation, then generated a static representation of the relevant structures in the form of an interaction map. Our next phase saw us conducting semi-structured interviews with a selected group of participants who possessed varying levels of experience in computer-aided design and the field of architecture. In total, we conducted 5 interviews with each lasting around 30 to 60 minutes. We then researched and evaluated 5 competitor products in order to compare the online learning materials and processes that each software offered, with an emphasis on the effectiveness of their videos and tutorials. Next, we utilized heuristic evaluation methods based on Jacob Nielsen's 10 Principles of Interaction Design to assess the information structure of the Revit documentation site. For our surveys, we sought data from both professional and student architects regarding demographic details about users, their opinions on Revit's help documentation and onboarding materials, and also more general preferences regarding methods of online learning. Next, preference tests were carried out in order to assess user reactions to changes made with these evaluations in mind. Selected users were asked for their preferences and opinions about current implementations and their mocked-up prototype counterparts. Finally, we conducted 5 usability tests for the current software and documentation site. Our goal was to evaluate if users could successfully and efficiently navigate to the documentation they needed from inside the software, as well as around the website it lives on.
So using all the research methods that Vivian just discussed, we synthesized 4 findings we felt were the most important to note in this presentation. The first is that, regardless of users' experience with Revit or Revit LT, the search functionality was utilized more than organic browsing through the sidebar navigation. So we noted a higher rate of users using the search box to find the documentation they were searching for than we expected during our usability tests. We also heard from our user interviews and in our usability tests that users felt the search functionality for the website was very helpful and they were usually able to find what they were searching for. In our preference tests, we saw that users preferred a page that emphasized searching over clicking links and thumbnails. So to the right here is a picture that more users preferred over a page that required users to start by clicking through links. So our second was that users preferred a walkthrough style approach to their tutorial materials. Adobe XD was frequently cited as an excellent example of software with a helpful tutorial file. Users are walked through creating a simple project with clear guidance throughout the given file. Revit is a little bit more complicated than Adobe XD, so starting with completed project sample files is probably a good idea. However, users didn't seem to feel this sense of guidance with those Revit LT sample files. They spent lots of time clicking through randomly on their own during our usability tests. Third is that users often overlooked the provided help documentation within Revit LT. There's not a strong enough typographical hierarchy to direct users to the How Do I section of all the sample files. Additionally, when prompted to learn more about a tool in Revit LT, most users didn't hover long enough for a tooltip to be displayed in the software. Most would have completely missed it if the moderator hadn't prompted them to go back and hover for long enough. And lastly, users consistently struggled with figuring out how to learn from the question mark icons in the sample files. We saw that it required previous Revit LT knowledge to know where to look, or that users had read the How Do I section of the text, but like we mentioned earlier, we observed many users were skipping over that content. So fourth was that our usability test showed users of varying experience had mixed opinions about the suggested workflows and documentation examples. So users noted examples where online documentation didn't match exactly what they were seeing in the software. Users said if they're being asked to click through several menus, users would like to see all those sequential windows in the online documentation. We also heard examples of workflows or projects that didn't match exactly what Revit LT users would probably be doing. Users questioned that the documentation suggested workflows for users that they might not actually follow, and project examples like placing buildings around a large campus probably aren't projects that individuals using Revit LT would be working on.
For the recommendation, first we suggest you redesign the help site that place a focus on searching as the first action rather than clicking through the thumbnails or navigation links. Second, for the second and the third findings, we suggest making it more apparent within the software how users can learn more about their using Revit-LT. So for that, including stronger information and a typographical hierarchy in the Revit-LT sample files will enhance their skimmability. This is an idea where the XT tutorial excels. Placing the reading contents in the top left can help direct the user's eyes there, and using larger fonts and heavier cells can help move the user's eyes through the contents. And then links in the question icons are not supposed to be hidden in the small field on the left. If there is any more standard functionality in the Revit-LT that can be used, it'd be good to try it. And include a message in the how do I section about the tooltips and make the users aware somehow when they first open the sample project. The information shown in the tooltips is good, and users like it when they found the tooltips, but many new users seems to be missing them. So ideally, this is to help people feel comfortable experimenting in the software when they first start, and they can move to the help site for more advancement and specific guidance. The examples used to be explain the how or why of the workflow should always be relevant and focus on the work that users will be conducting. Examples that match user expectation will help to make the help documentation more relatable. So for the discussion, most of the people we met for this research was student at the University of Michigan. So although within that student group we made it as various as possible, but since the small entrepreneurs are also one of our target users for Revit-LT, it may be necessary to consider having interviews or surveys with architect experts about our recommendations. Thank you so much for listening.